All right, welcome back to Reviews by Hunter. That's me, I'm Hunter, and today we got Sakamoto Days episode 20, guys. We are at episode 20 already. This one was titled Mutual Friends. So I'm going to try to keep this one under 10 minutes, but there was a lot of stuff that I found interesting in this episode, and I ended up taking a lot of notes. This episode was interesting because, a little before the halfway point, I was thinking to myself, it's been okay. I've been a little bit bored, but then all of a sudden, certain things that happened really picked this episode up. So let's get into it. So we kick off with special recommendation. Toromaru gets pissed that her Sakamoto doll got dirty. And then we see Slur's group with Mr. Reindeer saying that Gaku needs to be ready to play his part. At this point, didn't know what that meant, but obviously Slur, Gaku, and Mr. Reindeer are about to make one of their moves. And remember, they mentioned something about this entrance exam, I believe, last episode. So I think that's now where, that was going to come into motion. So Gaku says something about he compares them to video games or something. Gaku's always mentioning video games. I feel like that had to have played a part in his history or something, but as this episode goes on, we see even more of that. So that was a little foreshadowing when he says that. But then we see just Slur just chuckling. I love how this group of antagonists, again, is they're not your stereotypical villains. And every time I see them on screen, they're so fun to watch. We see Sakamoto having flashbacks about a cow and Nagamo from their days at the JCC having some kind of shooting competition that seemingly a cow won. And then she said that if she won, that they had to treat her to lunch and they were just walking off. So she literally shoots a bullet at them, but it just grazes them and they don't even care. I guess that's what it's like being friends with hitmen. That's their version of joshing around, is shooting bullets at each other. It turns out I was wrong about the relationship between Akira and the cow that Sakamoto knows. It turns out that Akira is not her daughter. She is her niece, but nonetheless, they are related by blood. I'm just going to turn that off for now. Another thing that was interesting is that Shin's team got chased in this episode, and then they jumped off the cliff, and they landed in some water. They're getting chased by that special recommendation Toromaru, who's now gone crazy because I guess she got offended that her doll got dirty, and that there was something else I think Shin said that pissed her off. So she starts attacking with that weapon that's the axe and the gun combined into one. And this is where we start learning a little bit even more about why Toromaru is so obsessed with Sakamoto. She compares him to being her god. That's how that's how much of a devoted fan that she is. So we get a small little mini flashback of her. Turns out back in the day, she changed her entire look, her entire personality, all towards the goal of impressing Sakamoto. She said ever since the first time that she saw him, she was just obsessed with him. She seems like one of those super crazy fans who worship celebrities to the point that they'll be devoted to them, almost like a religious figure in their life. Nagamo decides that he was going to sit this fight out because he's pouting over being seasick. I love Nagamo, man. He just feels so real. She says that she loves Sakamoto because he's a killing machine with no emotion. So she's talking about prime Sakamoto, the Sakamoto of old, the one that would go down as a legend, the best assassin that there ever was, Taro Sakamoto, right? So Toromaru begins attacking Shin while Nagamo and the other special recommendation on Shin's team, Kanji, just sit and watch. I was wondering why Kanji didn't jump in, but we do learn why a little bit later on. Now, above watching this fight happening is the last special recommendation, Shinaya. And he's this guy with brown hair, and he wears these goggles that are kind of almost like a DBZ Scouter is what it reminded me of, with the graphics that were showing up within the glasses, kind of futuristic looking and almost video game-esque like. But remember that I said that, because at first I was confused, but it makes sense later on. So now we have all three special recommendations in vicinity of one another something's bound to go down, right? So it turns out that while he's up above on this ledge watching the fight, Kanji is thinking in his own mind about like what he should do. And he's thinking to himself like, I guess I should maybe lend Shin a hand, but what would I say if I did? And he starts going like over all these scenarios in his head and like, oh no, then he'll just think I'm trying too hard. And then the narrator says, out of all the hitmen, Kanji is the shyest. So it turns out that although he is a special recommended assassin, he is super shy, and so at this point, we have not seen him in action, have no clue what his capabilities are. I'm thinking we're probably going to find out by next episode, because we only have 2 episodes left, so Kanji's going to be one of these characters to watch. Shin is getting overwhelmed by the dual threat attack of Taramaru. She has that axe / machine gun, so she's able to switch pretty seamlessly between both. Now, yes, Shin is dodging everything with his clairvoyance, which Taramaru picks up on, but he's not really getting much offense in at all. Matter of fact, he's getting 0 offense in. He is on the defensive. Now, instead of thinking of what Sakomoto would do in this situation, Shin finally thinks, wait a minute, what should I do in this situation, right? He's trying to escape the shadow of Sakomoto and be able to be more of an equal. And so this is part of his journey and his growth. And so I love that, man. He's not standing down from that goal. I love Shin's determination. He's one of those characters I always have a soft spot for, man. So, as I was saying, he's thinking about what he should do in this situation. Shin then lures Taramaru off another ledge and knocks her off. He hears her thoughts with his clairvoyance about how she is drowning and goes to save her. Turns out that the Sakomoto doll was trapped underneath a rock, and she was literally like unconscious with her eyes rolled back in her head, trying to save the doll. And she was trying to save him for so long, obviously, she lost consciousness and began to drown. I mean, there's fans, and then there are Taramarus. What did Mafuyu call her in this episode? An otaku or something like that? Yeah, she's an otaku. So, he does save Toramaru from drowning, because of course he does. And as Shin and Toramaru are kind of bickering back and forth, we see like her offer Shin the doll saying, you can be Sakamoto's #1 fan, because Shin says, you know, part of the reason he saved her is because he wouldn't have let her drown either. And that clearly seems to resonate with Toramaru. Now, as they're going back and forth and it seems like all is well in the world, Toramaru gets freaking speed blitzed, like out of nowhere, by the other special recommendation, Shinaya. And it sends her flying and lands her unconscious. I mean, the punch he delivers was like a punch from All Might, bro. Just knocks her the hell out. Absolutely crazy. So now we're back into a different fight, but back into the action right back again. This is what pulled me right back into this episode, where at first I was a little bit, not bored, but I just felt like, it's okay. And then this happened, and I was super, super pumped. But so now all of a sudden, they're being attacked by, well, yet another special recommendation. So yeah, Shania. But he's not who he seems to be. It turns out that we see a cut, and we cut back to Gaku. Gaku is wearing a pair of gaming light glasses. Not the same that Shania's wearing, but they're like this all black, and it goes around his face. And it turns out that Gaku is controlling Shania like a game. Maybe through some type, like, it's almost like virtual reality, but I don't even know if this is, I don't know how this is happening. I don't know if this is Gaku's ability, although this is an anime where we haven't really seen magic. We see hitmen, we see things that are over the top ridiculous, but there's not really been magic. So I don't understand how in the world Gaku is remote controlling this guy. Very interesting. I don't know if it's an actual human that Shania actually is, or if he's currently just Gaku's puppet. I'm not sure. But Gaku is fighting now in this fight as Shania. So, one thing that's interesting is he says, let's scout these kids. Now remember, Slur's group is also trying to recruit more people to their side after what happened. They lost forces as well in that big battle. So it seems like Gaku is on a secret part of his secret mission from earlier when Mr. Reindeer said it's time to play your part. This is what he meant. Gaku is scouting strong talent, although he's nearly killing the strong talent, but we'll see how it goes. But then a test administrator puts Shania's or Gaku's arm around his back and then like forces his head down onto the ground and says, "You've been eliminated for losing your colored tail." We get a flashback to one of the test administrators saying from the very beginning that you are not supposed to lose your colored tail or you will be disqualified. He's reprimanded by the test administrators, one of which says they found 4 dead bodies along the path and had to wonder if it was him. And they're pissed at him, saying that, you need to show respect to this test. This is what we do for a living. We don't just kill for fun. So they don't look at this as like some impressive feat of strength. They look at it as disrespect. Gaku/Shinaya then attacks everyone, including the test administrators, just destroying them, unaliving them in the most brutal of ways, one of which was a sniper, and then Gaku instantly grabs one of the other test administrators, puts him in front of the bullet, and he gets domed. He then throws that body at the other sniper, seemingly not knocking him out of commission, and then he grabs the leg or the arm of one of the lady administrators and swings her around like she's a rag doll, and then just flings her into some rock, just decimating the test administrators, man. Except one, the one with the green shirt and the brown pants is the lone one that seems like he's going to try and take out Gaku/Shinaya. We'll see if he just gets absolutely obliterated next episode or if he actually puts up a fight. Now, the episode does end with us seeing Gaku being speed blitzed by both Mafuyu and Taromaru at the same time. The ground beneath him starts to fracture just due to the pure impact of their combo attack, and the episode ends. We did get a small post-credit scene, but nothing much, just some of the other members of Team Sakamoto wondering how the test might be going. Overall, I'd give this episode like an 8.5. At one, the way it just took this huge leap from being like, it was okay, and then all of a sudden, I was like, oh wait, this is actually pretty fire. Which Sakomoto Days just always seems to do, because they're really good at making, or at least giving us really fun, interesting characters, but we don't have to go through 3 episodes worth of backstory. It's like a short backstory, but enough to let us know who this is, why they're important, and it works. It works. I think that it's cool because I feel like I'm able to invest in the characters a little bit more. But anyway, we did go over our 10-minute or less goal this time, but there was just a lot to talk about this time. But that's what I have for you today. Sakomoto Days, episode 20, Mutual Friends. What did you guys think of the episode?